right, so let me go back to, we just hit record and we are going to find this episode title, podcast ideas. Here we go. Breaking through career plateaus, tips to accelerate your growth as a developer. Wow, this will be a fun one. Let's see.
We must have done these close to GLS last year.
I don't know when we did this. I would have to look at how far back this was.
Oh, 3 seasons. Might have been. Hmm.
Because we've done a lot of that kind of stuff. I think I can try to remember what came out of GLS last year. Episode title: Breaking the Plateau. Level up your dev career like it's the final boss.
Get
All right,
to
so this
share.
is going to be fun. No, you don't get to share. Thanks for mentioning that because I wasn't about to. Whoop. Where are you? There's you. Let's do this one. There we go.
Cool.
And let's do this. Let's do this. And we're going to do our little countdown. What was the original one? That's what it was. We're going to go tres, dos, uno. Hola! We are back again. We are continuing our season where we are doing a prior season, doing all of our topics that had to do with becoming a better developer, basically. And now we're doing it with AI. We're taking those topics and we are putting them through AI. We're getting its results, its recommendations, and we're basically telling it what we think about it. And we're adding on to that conversation, just like we've added a new guest to talk about that subject. So far, it's been working really well. We'll see how it goes today. This time, we're going to talk about breaking through career plateaus, tips to accelerate your growth as a developer. But before we do that, this is the Developreneur podcast. Building Better Developers is also our name. I am one of the founders. My name is Rob Broadhead. I'm a founder of Developreneur, but also the founder of RB Consulting, where we help you do technology better. Let's face it, technology is a big, ugly monster out there. If you go to developreneur.com, you're going to see all these different topics, all these different things that have evolved over the years, whether it's AI, whether it's the latest in streaming technology, whether it's the latest in UIs, right? All of that stuff. There's a lot of technology out there. We spend a lot of time with it. We've also spent a lot of time in businesses across a wide range of areas and lines of business. We sit down with you, help you really define your business. Make sure first that you get that stuff out of your head, get it on paper or digitally, and then we can talk through your processes, your procedures, and through simplification, integration, automation, and even innovation, we can help you craft a plan, special recipe. We're going to call it a technology roadmap that comes out of this technology assessment that helps you get a good plan for today, but also for tomorrow and growing forward to match the needs of your business. Good thing and bad thing. Oh boy, this is like I got to think of what has been going on lately because it has been a lot of stuff. Um, Very much in the same. So good thing is that I have been as I've been shifting gears a little bit at the RB consulting world and doing a little more working on my business. Um, there are a lot of those things that I enjoy and that suck me in. Even some of aspects of networking. I'm an introvert. I'm not into the whole networking thing. Forget that. But there are pieces of it I do like. There is like the problem solver in me, the get to know the deep details of a problem, that kind of stuff. It's really fun. I've been doing a lot of that. And so I've been able to do some things that are different, as we've talked about in the past. Helps me out because now I'm doing a little bit of different work. The downside is that is sucking up a lot of my time. And so, like every day, I will get stuck into something where I'm like, oh, I've got all these meetings that I've lined up that I really need to do, but also I've got this other work that I need to do. So I'm actually working on my business when at times I really need some time to work in my business. So I'm getting into that good thing, bad thing. The good thing, though, right now is that Michael is going to introduce himself and allow me to take a breath.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael Meloche. I'm one of the co-founders of Building Better Developers, also known as Developerpreneur. I'm also the owner of Envision QA. We help startups and growing businesses build software that works the way it's supposed to from day one. You've probably heard stories of software projects going over budget, launching late, or breaking once the user gets their hands on it. That's where we come in. At Envision QA, we make sure that your project is tested, stable, and ready for the customers. We handle the behind the scenes quality checks and support development so you can launch faster, avoid costly mistakes, and protect your reputation. In short, we help you build software that doesn't break your business. Learn more at envisionqa.com. Good thing, bad thing. Let's see, good thing, bad thing. Well, I'll go with good thing this time because really I talked about the bad thing, and thankfully so far nothing else bad has happened since that. Good thing we finally got some rain yesterday. The grass was looking dead, looking dry. Got just enough rain, not for the grass to grow, but for it to be a little bit greener. So that was very cool. And then I got a little notification that in a couple months Pokemon Legends comes out. So I'm very stoked for that.
I am stoked to go through this conversation today because it started out with okay, it recommended a different topic. So it recommended breaking the plateau, level up your dev career like it's the final boss. Opening hook, you've been coding for years, you're good at your job, but lately it feels like you're stuck on the same level. Today we're talking cheat codes for your career, and no, not the kind that get you banned from the server. Episode flow, the first part, setting the stage. The comfortable but stuck feeling. Projects are fine, paychecks fine, but growth feels flat. Why plateaus happen: routine work, lack of challenge, or not marketing yourself internally. Analogy: your career's XP bar is filling, but the level up screen never pops. Now, there's a lot of gamer stuff there that if you don't understand that, that's okay. We're going to question you a little bit because most developers have some sort of gaming knowledge, but that is a different topic. Um, this is part of why the developer site, the part of all of this stuff that we do exists, is because we are knowledge workers. If we're going to be better developers, we have to be lifetime learners. We also need to be challenge ourselves on a regular basis to grow. Because if you're not growing, you're dying, especially with technology, because technology is just marching, 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 marching. And so you need to be able to keep up with that. You need to set a pace that, you don't have to know everything, but if you can be regularly growing and learning new things that are available, it's going to help you out quite a bit. And this comfortable but stuck. I was literally talking with somebody about this not too long ago that did a complete career change and was at a company that they left a good job. Part of it was because of this, is there's a certain point where you're going to look at it. You're like, okay, I'm doing the same thing I did last year or, 2 years ago or 6 months ago, even sometimes. It's like, I'm not really growing. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to like always be doing the latest whiz bang fancy stuff and be on the bleeding edge, but you do need to be growing. And that's not necessarily in technology. So it may be that maybe you're not coding as much as you were before, but maybe now you're doing more design work, or maybe you're doing some mentoring or leadership and things like that. There needs to be a growth path for wherever it is that you're at, whether it's your company or whether whoever your employer is, or whether you're doing it yourself through your side hustles and the things that you do outside of work. Now, if you're doing it outside of work, then that may be enough. You may be able to like just continue moving forward, which is maybe the best of all worlds, is because now you have a safe job, a steady paycheck, and all that goodness, and you're able to grow as well. The problem is that takes time. And if you're spending 40 to 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 hours of work, on your regular job, and you're trying to spend even 10 or 15 hours extra on your other job, and you have, I don't know, this thing called a family, whatever the heck that is. I heard those exist somewhere. Stuff's going to fall apart. It is not going to work well. Just trust me on that. You need to be able to find that balance. And this goes back to some of the things we've talked about in the past, where it's like, you've got to change gears sometimes. You're going to end up burning out or getting stuck in a rut. You're just not going to be as good. So you need to be looking for ways to steadily grow. If your employer doesn't provide it, then look for some ways to do so. And if it's something that's too much of a strain, then maybe it's time to start looking for a job that will allow you to grow. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, you kind of set the stage really well for this one. Interestingly enough, though, the comfortable feeling stuck, one of the things you have to be careful about if you are feeling comfortable in your job but not going anywhere, you may want to do a little bit of self reflection first. Make sure that you are doing basically, are you doing the bare minimum to do the job, or are you really trying to challenge yourself with the job? Because I've been in some positions where um, they gave me tasks and I got bored. I would get my work done and I would have hours and I'd have to sit there at my desk before the work from home situation helps. But you run into situations where you might feel comfortable in the job. Is it going anywhere? But are you being challenged? And there was one company I worked for where the work was okay, but very quickly it got boring. And I wasn't moving up, I wasn't going anywhere. So I actually started looking for problems to solve within the company. So instead of going external, I went internal and I was like, well, how can I grow with myself within the company? So I actually looked for things within this company that were outside of my wheelhouse. I was a uh, front end client server application developer. So I saw these new signature tablets were coming out. This was way before they're like everywhere. And I was like, hey, what's this? Company had one sitting in a storage room. I picked it up and I started playing around with it. And next thing you know, I wrote a little module app for our check-in software. And then a couple months later, the same type of software that it was patient engagement. And it was like, we've got these webcams laying around over here. Can I make that work? So I went outside of my wheelhouse and figured out how to do things. Now, end of the day, that job went nowhere. I finally reached a point where I could not go anywhere within this company. I hit a ceiling. And the moment I looked outside that company, I found a job with a lot more pay, a lot more challenge, and a lot more fun within weeks. It did not take long. So step outside of your wheelhouse. I would say start internally. If you have like good relationships with the company you're with, start there. Try to see if you can grow. If you start by asking yourself, are you doing enough or are you doing the bare minimum? If you're doing the bare minimum because you're not challenged, see if you can challenge yourself within the company, and that might help you move up within the company and get out of your wheelhouse. But like I said, if you reach that point where you aren't, it's time to look elsewhere.
There's a lot of good points there. I'm going to move forward though, instead of diving back, getting lost on a couple of those rabbit trails. So let's move on to the next one. So recognizing the plateau symptoms. Haven't learned a new framework, tool, or pattern in 6+ months. No increase in responsibilities or ownership. You can do most tasks on autopilot. Why this is dangerous. Industry moves fast and coasting is really falling behind slowly. I think this is actually my first job that I worked myself out of a job. Is I think this is a natural kind of progression. Is that we had something, and I helped them build a solution. We had the solution, we were using it, and then started using the next phase of growth. Basically, that I had as I was like is now refining that solution, simplifying it, automating it, doing the things that makes it easier to do and require less resources, or at least human resources. And very quickly, over a period of probably 6 months or so, we had something that took, initially when I started, it took like 30 something days to get it done. And we got it down to like, I think under 3 days is basically I think we got less, but it seems like 3 days was the number that we got to. So that's a huge change. But it also meant when it was 30 days, it was a full-time developer role. When it's 3 days, that means basically, because you're doing about one of these a month, it had to do with release management. You had about one a month. Well, 30 days fills up your month really well. 3 days does not. So very quickly it became, all right, I've got 27 days to lay around and do nothing. I don't want to do that, and moving on. So I think that's very well a good example. Like your plateau is like, you may feel that you're okay, so you've plateaued, but part of it is like, if you've ever worked, entry level, like, restaurants, something like that, they'll always say, man, if you say, I don't have anything to do, manager will always be like, well, grab a broom, go, wipe a table, clean a floor. We can always, in a similar sense, we can always do some automation, do some code review, see if you like documentation, code review, maybe build a bit of some, you do a little unit test or some testing around that. And then finding ways to do it better, performance tuning and automation in particular to like make this not just a good solution, but like maybe an almost perfect solution. Work on that for a while. Now, if you get that, if you've gone through that, now you've basically exhausted your, what you can do within that area or with that application. And then, all right, maybe you need to move on. But there's definitely some things you can do to help you, even if you're starting to see these little red flags of like, ooh, I feel like I'm plateauing. Those are a couple of things you can do to maybe get you off of that plateau and growing again, at least for a little bit. What are some of the things you've run into and how you've tackled them like that?
Yes, I mean, this is actually kind of an interesting one for me right now, given that we are in kind of an AI revolution where software development in and of itself is changing almost daily right now. And it really, I really struggle when I work with developers who tell me that, oh, I won't use AI. I won't learn it. I don't want to touch this. And they're like, what I'm working on is going to be around forever. So they're not learning those new frameworks. They're not learning those new tools. And they are perfecting their skills at what they have. They're going to run into a situation where they're going to be many fish in a very small pond of jobs. A great example of this was there was so many developers that went and learned COBOL and Fortran for the Y2K panic. And then the moment that was done, we had the 90s bubble where all these people got laid off. It's like, oh, hey, we don't need you anymore. We need real developers and new real skills. So, not putting shade on Fortran and COBOL because that language has evolved. But that's just one example. Or if you're like a DevOps or a network engineer, working with old technologies is great, but if you don't stay up to date on what's coming out and what's new, eventually you're going to be working with tools that you're not going to know what to do with, and you're going to be out of a job.
And that is, I guess, another area that we haven't really talked about is sometimes it's just take the same thing and use a new tool. One of the things I ran into, this is now a couple years ago, I've been doing a lot of Python and I had been working with it in Visual Studio Code. And there was a project that made good extent that was some of the, it's not doing the same sort of thing, but I used PyCharm. I was like, all right, I'm going to go do this. Or I also did a similar thing. I know you hate, IntelliJ, but I'd used Eclipse. Way back, I used my Eclipse and I used Eclipse and I used Spring's STS. So I'd done a lot of that. And I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to go do IntelliJ. I'm going to use their stuff because I'd used some of their other tools. So just learning those tools can be, in itself can be a big change. Back in the day, there was a point where I was building some APIs and I used this tool called Postman that was sort of new at the time and has turned out to be something that I use all the time. Sometimes I'll change up my database browser tools and things like that. Those are helpful because it also will help you get better. You're going to pick the ones that work most like you and be able to, to be the most productive version of yourself. Breaking through acceleration strategies. So stretch projects, volunteer for complex or cross-team challenges, skill stack expansion, add complementary skills, UX basics, DevOps tools, leadership, mentorship 2.0, not just finding a mentor, but mentoring others to solidify leadership skills. Visibility boost, speak at internal brown bags, contribute to open source, or write about your learnings. Those are all like excellent ideas. We sort of talked about the first one about like volunteering or finding your own project somewhere else internally, or anything like sometimes you'll hear about like we're getting a research group together to think about doing this with a project or do this direction with our company. Those are great. Volunteer in a charitable sense, whether it's working for some local charity or whether it's mentorship, like you can work, maybe there's like a local college you can work with. I combine that a lot with brown bag sessions and things like that. Find excuses, whether it's a brown bag session at work or maybe there's a meetup that you can go present at. That stuff is huge. If you go back to our mentor and mastermind stuff that we've done over the years, I don't know how far back you got to go now. It's like a couple of years old, but you can go back out on the YouTube site and you can find a lot of our old meetings and some of the discussions we had there. And a lot of that did for quite a while talk about things like get out there, whether it's you could write a book, you can have a podcast, you can now, I mean, like you can do a YouTube channel. But the things where you're out there presenting, talking about your ideas, even if it's just a simple blog, are in themselves a great way for you to really solidify your knowledge. And then hopefully you get feedback, info@developmentor.com. Hopefully you get feedback and you're going to be able to refine that knowledge, and you're going to be able to grow that knowledge because you're going to have conversations with people and talk to them about what you know, and they're going to tell you what they know, and that's going to help you grow quite a bit. Before I pass this, we've not talked enough about complementary skills in a long, long time. But that is something that it is all over the software development, the developer book. Talk about those, about how you can take the things you're doing and sort of shift into a slightly different area. CI/CD and build management is great because whatever app you're building, you can find a way to deploy it and work on some way to automate that process, whether it's through some pipelines, whether it's through Ant, whether it's through batch and shell scripts. Or write your own installer or things like that. Those help you stretch your skills, and also they are the bonus. They're based on something that it's helpful to the project that you're building, because now you've built a tool to help those that are deploying your tool, your application. Thoughts on that?
So I'm going to stick with kind of the mentorship and the visibility boost, because one of the biggest things that I found personally with my growth expansion over the years was I left college and I was like, I'm never going back to an education institution again. I am done. 5 years of college, shifting majors. I'm just done with teaching, done with teachers, done with everything. 6 months later, I had to eat those words. I ended up getting a job at a vocational school, working with people that did not have that formal education. And it was a lot of fun. You learn so much more by teaching others and seeing their point of view in a way that you typically wouldn't look at a problem. The more people that you can be exposed to for teaching, the more demographics, the more, just different languages or different, whatever they know, you can kind of absorb that as you're teaching them. It really helps the more to walk in someone's shoes and then help them understand what it is that you're teaching is a viable resource. And it really can help you for your communication skills. And it can also help you with your troubleshooting and debugging, because helping someone debug something is, you learn so much from that. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about this, or oh, I didn't know that. So you can always try to learn something new. And the visibility boost, yes, speaking at internal brown bag events, things like that. It's actually funny that stretch project and the visibility boost. To me, I think of hackathons. I think go out to a hackathon, go out to like heck go out to like a hobby. So like if you're into video games, go out to like E3 or go to a local game con. Go out and talk to people, go out and network, and again, try to find people with similar skills, similar mindsets, and then you can work together to maybe build a project, or hey, you might come up with the next, Microsoft or Apple.
I think those are, yeah, I think as we wrap this one up, you guys all probably know, if you listen to us at all, that I love side hustles as a way to grow your skills. I love, like, that's now, granted, that's exactly how I learned best. I learned by doing. So from the very start, when I was learning new languages, one of the things I would do is I would look at a language and say, what is something this is supposed to do really well? And I would go build that app with that language. And it forced me to learn the language. And usually it was like sort of learn it, and then I'd go build another app, and I would, eventually I could say I sort of had mastered the language, because now I've built a couple of things with that and I understand some of its ins and outs. And then as you grow, then you're going to learn more ins and outs. As Michael said, if you start debugging stuff, that's, I think, the best part about building that little side hustle project is you're going to have bugs. You're going to have situations, and so many of these when I've screamed and cussed and done all kinds of stuff where it's like this worked, and then you do something, now nothing works, and you got to go debug it and figure all that stuff out. And sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it takes quite a bit, and you learn that things get cached or things didn't get loaded right or things don't have the right permissions or something moved its, something is case sensitive or whatever all the different things are that can cause code to not work. You start building up this list of like, okay, here's all the things I got to check. It makes you better. And so I cannot say enough about like find yourself a little side project. Like Michael said, you can do it internally. You can go find something. It's like find some work to do within your business where maybe there's something somebody's complaining about, a little problem that you can solve, or go out and scratch your own itch. Or if there's just something that you just are like, hey, it'd be cool if I had this tool, go build it because it's going to help you grow and get you off that plateau. That being said, it is time to wrap this one up. I've already mentioned, but I'm going to mention again, info@developreneur.com. Shoot us an email if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, recommendations, all of that goodness. We are getting towards the end of this. We got a few more episodes on this season. Not sure exactly where we're going with the next one because, hey, that's who we are. Although this has worked really well. Maybe we'll just do like evergreen content and come back and do AI on some of these past topics because they are topics that no matter where you are in your career, you're going to bump into them over and over again because we have done so over and over again. You can also reach out to us on developreneur.com. There is feedback forums. You can leave a comment on any of the articles that are out there. You can go out to YouTube. There's a Developreneur channel. Check out stuff there. On X, we are at Developreneur. Anywhere that you see podcasts or if you listen to podcasts, you can download podcasts. You can leave us a review, and we will get back to you that way as well. We appreciate your time. We appreciate all that you've done for us, and we just want to do for you as well. As always, go out there and have yourself a great day, a great week, and we will talk to you next time. Now, this time we didn't do all of our bonus material before we even started. So I will let you dive into where do you want to go with in the bonus world here?
Oh, I guess with this one of the things I would say, the last one we kind of talked about avoiding social media, things like that. But with this one, I would almost engage you to go out and look for like LinkedIn groups that kind of fit within your business or your particular field. Look for networking events. Look for things that will help get you out of your box and help you grow. Again, it could be gaming, could be things like that, but look for like Java 1 or Spring Source or Microsoft's big expo that they do every year. Those are great learning opportunities and great networking opportunities. Just make sure that if you go to them, make sure you go to the networking events and talk to people. Don't just go to the classes and then go back to your hotel room because you're not going to get as much out of those as you would with the interaction that they do. If you don't know anyone, one of the best trade secrets is if the conference has a trade show, go down and talk to all the vendors, ask them if they have a card, and then ask them if they have any vendor parties that they are doing in between the event. That are great networking opportunities. Every so often, like if there's an IBM booth, I talk to them. They have some event. I meet some IBM people. I learn about some new stuff coming out from IBM. So talk to people. You never know who or where your next networking opportunity will come from.
Or you can be like me and don't talk to anybody. Do the best job you can to avoid human beings where possible, which does not work as well. It really doesn't help your networking. Trust me. I do want to talk about one of the things that it mentioned that we did not get to is regular career audits. And they say like check every 6 months where you stand on
You
skills
hit your mic
and satisfaction.
or you cut out.
Let me do this while we're here. Let me just plug in and see because I did not have a mic. So I'm not sure why it changed. But now we're going to do this little sucker here. And we're going to change this.
That's better. I had a whole bunch of feedback while you were moving it.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Good, 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 good. All right. Change this, move this because it's a little bit too much in my face and it's a little bit annoying. All right. Test, test, test. Is that good? Loud enough? All right. Sometimes you have technology issues like that. Check in on your skills every 6 months. I think this is something that you should be doing, just like we check on our business and everything else, is talk about or look at what are you doing? Where do you want to go? This is your career roadmap that we've talked about many, many times. I would say it's useful. I think it's better to actually do it once a quarter. Sit there at the beginning of the year, put together your roadmap for the year. What do I want to get done in first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter? And then at the end of each is like, am I making that progress? And if not, and you know what to focus on. And there should be progress in each of those. So, like 1 year, I did the first quarter, I was going to learn Swift programming. I was going to spend some time and learn Swift programming. So, I had that I was going to spend 15 minutes a day doing that. And then the second quarter, I was going to build a Swift app, build an iPhone or iWatch, Apple Watch app, because I'd never done one. And then the third quarter was build a app and then have it integrate with something. I can't remember what it was that went on with that, but it's like a nice progression of skills and something that you can check off that you can either say, yes, I've done it, or no, I haven't, especially if you've got a milestone like a test or a certification, or if you've got some sort of an application or something like that that needs to be in a certain state. Obviously, you can use that. I think those career audits are huge, is to say, am I doing what I want to do? Am I happy? Am I growing? And if not, what changes do I need to make? Because sometimes you're going to have your career roadmap is going to be like, I want to learn COBOL. And then you're going to realize that nobody cares about COBOL after you're 6 months into it. And you're like, so punt. Say, you know what? Now I don't want to learn COBOL. I want to go learn something else. Um, Last little bonus thing is it does say challenge listeners to pick one stretch action this week. And I just want to throw that out there, not for challenges, but like spend a couple minutes after this wraps up and just think about what is something you could do that would be 5, 10, 15 minutes and just like get you to grow even just a little bit. It may be thinking about that side hustle application. It may be like brushing off that old side hustle application. It may be automating something that you knew you should have automated months ago. Those kinds of tasks is like just give yourself something this week that is going to help you grow, and then rinse and repeat every week moving forward. And the next thing you know, you're going to be a lot different place than you are today. That's what we did years ago when I did the first blog for Developreneur, and now we've got thousands, over 1,000 that are out there. Granted, a lot of them are podcast episodes and stuff like that, but we got all this stuff that over time it does add up. And the next thing you know, you've got piles and piles of stuff, and your biggest challenge is navigating through all of the content that you've produced. As always, appreciate your time. Appreciate you guys being here and all that you've done for us. And so we just want to do for you as well. Go out there, have yourself a great day. And we are not done with the season. We're still doing more with AI. We will be back next time after I figure out how to hit the stop button.